into September. You know what that means. Training camps in the junior level are underway, and we're inching towards the start of rookie camps in the National Hockey League. Welcome to InGoal Radio, the podcast presented by The Hockey Shop. Source for sports Surrey, thehockeyshop.com. Darren Millard along with Kevin Woodley and the recognizable David Hutchison. This is a day. Hutch is signing autographs as he walks through lobbies. Woody is enjoying this thoroughly, and I am just bowing at the feet of Hutch.
Wrong Hutch.
No. This is you. This is the
little Hutch has signed autographs this week. The big Hutch has signed no autographs.
Listen, I'm talking about our feature interview this week, and that is Joel Hofer.
There you
go. Joel, brought to you by Sensorina VR, will join us and talk about the reach of InGoal Radio, the podcast, and how it influences even professionals. I don't know why you're downplaying this, Hutch.
In the best way, that one, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, every now and then we save when a guy mentions that he listens to the podcast, but to think, I don't even want to tease it. This is probably the best little shout out we've had in an interview. At least for me, the most exciting, Woody.
That's two of the past three, right? Like we had the Wedgwood interview where it was InGoalMag.com and InGoal Premium that was getting the shout out in terms of making a change based on a goalie coach sending him an article and Jake Allen sharing some advice. And now this week directly, like, yeah, I was kind of shocked when I heard it, and I can't wait for everyone else to hear it. It's a funny one. It's a good one.
It's awesome. It's being mentioned all over the place. I was watching a video about Brian DeCord talking about the panda a couple of weeks ago. I think I've mentioned this recently, and he was saying, "Hey, if you guys got the newsletter from InGoal Magazine, this was in here." And I'm like, "What? This is awesome. Good on you guys, and what you guys are doing for the position and this great sport." I am working on our Bible. I wanted to let you know. I hinted at that last week, and Hutch wondered who is going to be able to do this, who's going to keep track of it. I've written some things down, so I'll make sure that I forward to you guys. But if you got any suggestions, listeners, let us know. Things that should be in the InGoal Radio, the podcast Bible of sayings and phrases.
I think that glossary of terms we got to get warm-up sticks. Just let me know when you need my entry into that one. I'll make sure that we get an illustration. We'll have a little picture in there.
Agreed.
I'm writing it down.
I'm on board for the warm-up stick train this year.
There we are. Yeah, there's some cool stuff in here. Headshots is one of them. Head trajectory is another. Headshots came out of head trajectory. And speaking of having your head up and looking in the right direction, Jake Ottinger signs coming off his entry-level contract about where we expect. We're not seeing the great leaps in goaltenders like we are players coming off the entry level, but still right in the ballpark of where you'd expect in that $4 million AAV, Woody.
Yeah, and I think given the cap situation of the Dallas Stars, probably not a bad bet to make if you're Jake Ottinger, because there's going to be more money available from Dallas when that contract expires. And they're a team that's a little bit up against a cap crunch right now. So take a little less now and only sign for 3 years. Like, think of the Thatcher Demko contract, right? 5 years at $5 million. That's a bargain for another 4 seasons here in Vancouver. Shesterkin, 5.6, got a little more money, but again, shorter term. Like, to me, he's the one that could set the standard when his contract expires. I think he only signed for 3 or 4 years. So a bit of a bet by the goaltenders themselves coming out of the entry level. Like, hey, I'm gonna make a transition and then it's going to pay off at the end. I'm curious to see where it all goes. Like, Shesterkin's the one I've earmarked because he's clearly established himself as an elite goaltender in the game already. He's already won a Vezina Trophy. We see what he's capable of. And yet I can't help but think that goaltender salaries are being depressed and will continue to be depressed by the fact that they're not playing as many games as they used to. Like, we're down to, and I've heard teams now talking about an ideal workload being, it went from guys playing 70 games to 65 to 60. And now we're hearing teams talk about 50 to 55 as an ideal workload. And so it's just the reality. If you're only playing 50 or 55 games at the upper level, and we saw 3 guys get over, or the top 3 guys were 67, 66, and 64 last year, and 2 of them didn't make it to the end of the season before getting hurt in Demko and Saros. Like, I think if the trend goes down for games played, even at the elite number 1 level, salaries coming down for NHL goaltenders will also happen.
Do you think the number for your goaltending, so the number that you're paying for National Hockey League net minding on an AAV, is that changing as we go along, even with the starter number coming down? I wonder if the backup would go up, or whether or not we're seeing any type of drop off in what the goaltenders are being paid.
I just think there's more balance. Like I think goaltending's, like how you're not going to see like Bob's $10 million contract, sort of scared a lot of people off for starters. Vasilevsky's up there, Carey's up there, but looks like he's done with a lot of years left on it. Like I just think in an era where you need 2, 3, maybe even 4 goaltenders in your organization that are capable of playing, you're going to see more teams willing to sort of balance out that act. Listen, if I can only get 55 or 60 from my starter, I can't afford to pay him too much because I need another guy. I need to pay a guy that's able to play 30 and give us good goaltending there. So there are going to be exceptions, and that's why I look at Shesterkin, just because he's at such a high level already. And when his contract expires, is he capable of getting into the 9s or 10s? But sort of outside of that list, look at Jacob Markstrom, was the premier unrestricted free agent with multiple teams pursuing him just 2 summers ago, and what, 6 times 6, right? Not 8, 9, $10 million. So again, I just think there's a trend towards paying your number ones less and maybe more of a balancing act between your number 1 and your number 2. And, at the risk of losing my goalie union card, it's kind of hard to argue it when the games played come down like that.
Number for a team below 9 now for both goaltenders, Hutch, do you think?
Could be. I mean, I would argue with Woody a little bit just because it's fun. I don't think it's just about games played, because you influence the game far more than a second line center does. So you don't need to play 82 games to have that same sort of impact. And I think you could argue, of course we would argue, that a goaltender deserves that kind of money. But I think it's partly what we talked about here before. There's the risk-averse culture of hockey. And to put $10 million down on a goaltender that might not work out, you're kind of stuck with them. Whereas your third line center, somebody could be moved around in the lineup. Obviously, you don't want to soak that kind of money into the salary cap if you don't have to. But the mistakes are a little bit more forgivable when you're making them with skaters than you are with goaltenders. So I think people are very risk averse. Combined with that fact that we've talked about many times, and Woody even brought up here, there's a lot wider range of goaltenders out there. Not a wider range. There's a lot more parity amongst goaltenders. There's a lot more great goaltenders out there. So I think general managers think they can find one, even though it doesn't seem they can too often. As
a fan, do you guys like tandem, or do you like a number 1 guy?
Oh, just give me star power, baby. Give me, like some of the best stories, right? Like how good was Scott Wedgwood, right? Like, and finally earning a one-way contract, like, and sort of I love that, the evolution of guys that maybe sometimes everybody says goaltending takes longer, but sometimes it's just like it takes longer for them to find a voice that gives them something that clicks at this level. Charlie Lindgren, so I like star power, and I think, look over my shoulder. I guess the people listening can't, but we got 3 jerseys on the wall in my office behind me. Price, Lundqvist, Luongo. Like, that's what I grew up with. The guys that were playing like 70 a year, and that type of elite number 1 sort of star power, starter power. And maybe we're losing a little bit of that because they're all done, right? Like, that's the other thing. Like, look at the retirements that we've had of late, like, and guys that might be finished because of injuries. Like, it's a little bit depressing to me that we're losing some of that star power, but I just think that's the way the game's going right now. And I don't want it to be a negative, because some of it is there's more guys in that 2-hole that are ready to fill it, right? Like, there's more guys in the 2-hole that can give you 30 or 40 games
3.
or push for a number 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can't have absolute dominance, I mean, I love dominance, whether it's in hockey or how about Serena Williams? Shout out to her, just reaching the end of her career this week. Tiger Woods dominance. Those are great things to watch. If we can have a goaltender that dominates on that level, Darren, I'd far rather have that. But if we're not going to have that sort of dominance, then let's have a great tandem, because the more people we can enjoy, the better.
One of my favorite activities has always been going back and looking at the backups for some of the great goaltenders in NHL history, whether it's Lou or Hasek or Waugh, and go through, because they always played every game. And you go back and go, okay, that guy was there for a couple of years, and so forth. And And we have kind of lost that type of support role.
We have. And also, isn't the role of the backup, just aside from the number of games played that we talk about, there isn't the same room for error. With 32 teams in the league, you're trying to earn a playoff spot. It's not quite what it was back when we had a 21-team league, and earning your way into the playoffs wasn't such the deal. So playing a backup that maybe didn't have that same cachet as the starter back in the day was one thing. But today, you've got to be able to play. You can't have one guy only.
Woody?
No, he's absolutely right. You need, like Hutch said earlier, you need three. So I guess at the end of the day, I could go both ways. I love the star power, and we have the star power, right? Like Igor Shesterkin is unfreaking believable. Andrei Vasilevsky is unfreaking believable. And Vasilevsky's also one of the last of a sort of the workhorses as well. Like that guy just has a motor that doesn't stop. But Igor Shesterkin is giving us goaltending at a level, like his season last year was, for most of it, was at a level we hadn't seen in a decade. And yet still, the games played were limited. So I don't know that it's a lack of star power. It's just the recognition that we can't burn our stars out, or we're not going to get the most out of them at a time of the season when we need them to be their best in the playoffs. And that's why, you still have the star power, but if I'm a fan of the game or a fan of goaltending and the New York Rangers are coming to town, like I basically have a 55 to 60% chance that I'm going to actually see Igor Shesterkin play in my building. Whereas in the past, it was more like 80 or 90 that you'd see that number one star goaltender. Now, even though they're a star, even though they're the best in the league, they're not necessarily playing as often as they used to.
Yeah. Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, you know that they're going to play. Beyond that, it's up there, and it's for a toss.
And don't forget that those backups need ice time because, as we just said, they're needed more than ever. So therefore, you also need to have them getting some ice time so they're ready because, as we've mentioned on here many times, rare is the goaltender who can sit on the bench for a month and a half between starts and be effective.
Markstrom, Demko, also guys that carry more of the load. We'll see how that progresses. Let's get into our gear segment because that's a really interesting take this week as we check out what's going on at the Hockey Shop, source for Sports Surrey, thehockeyshop.com. They must be ramping up like crazy. I'm jealous that you get to go and hang out every couple of weeks.
Well, Back to Hockey sale is on now, folks. So make sure you check them out if you're looking for whether it's a new set of steel or some knee pads or a new jock or a complete head-to-toe setup to head back to hockey yourself. There's a good chance it's on discount right now at thehockeyshop.com or in person at the Hockey Shop. They've also got, and we're going to talk about it this week, a whole bunch of true 12.2 gear in, which is exciting because, let's be honest, as popular as it's been at the National Hockey League and pro level, it's been a little hard to come by at retail. So I was really excited to walk in and see a wall full of the new True 12.2. But as Cam's about to tell us, it comes with a plot twist. Welcome back to the Hockey Shop, source for sports. We are down here in Goalie Utopia, surrounded by True Gear. 12.2 line. Hasn't been the case a lot. Limited supply, hard to get.
It's here. It's actually here. Like, it's not fake. This is real. This exists.
Plot twist, though? Can we call it that? Little bit of a plot twist. So, you're going to see 12.2 showing up at retail stores finally in larger amounts. The one twist is, this is designed by Lefebvre.
Made in Vietnam.
Made overseas. So True finally has, and this is the reality we talked about throughout, the only way you're ever going to meet the demand and increase your supply, given how small the factory is in Montreal and how much demand there is at the pro, minor pro, college levels, was to start making it overseas. And so the good news, folks, is same materials, same design. It's here. I don't think making stuff overseas is a bad thing. Most companies are doing it at this point. Walk me through some of the highlights. Are there any differences other than the fact it says designed by Lefebvre rather than made by Lefebvre and it's not made in the factory? This is the same pad, no?
Correct. So we're not losing anything by any means, and it's not going to be a far departure. So if you're after a 12.2, you can definitely find it here. Once again, Kevin kind of mentioned it there. So we're talking about same core materials. We're talking about same outer leather thickness. We're still at the fast glide on the side of the pad as well. So once again, we're not taking necessarily anything away in terms of performance value out of the pad. So if you felt comfortable in a domestic set, theory, you should feel just as comfortable in this import set.
So you should be able to go back to our old review and see a lot of the highlights on the pad in particular are the same. We'll walk through some of the key ones really quickly here today, but I wanted to go to some of the differences, and one of them would be, again, because we're not ordering custom, this is a sort of stock set, and that means stock models on blocker and glove. So the 600 break will come stock with this line. Here in the store, you've got different colors, obviously, and different color schemes and different options, but it's the 600 break that's stock.
Also stock sizing, so 32 plus 2 all the way to 36 plus 2. Nothing in between in terms of for like special sizing, no like 34 plus 1.5 or anything like that. You are falling into the stock sizing category. So hopefully that works for you. Continuing with the theme of the pad.
Blocker. It's a 595 is stock, but for those that, I think the 600 nomenclature, we're going to go with what I want to talk about first, Cam. I love you, buddy. It's all peace, love, and dope around here now, but we've got to go with the my show. Everybody knows what a 600 break is on the glove.
Yeah.
595 blocker, just to refresh it. So that's just basically the bindingless
That's
one.
it.
And the one that has binding, if we were doing custom, is called?
585.
Attaboy. See, I'm putting you to the test. All right, now you can have your pad. Show me the highlights.
Okay. We still see our FRS system, exact same as what you are going to find on that 12.2 domestic pad. Nice wraparound fit. Again, some great feedback in terms of responsiveness. Has really kind of garnered its own following, we'll call it for lack of a better term. Recessed knee, stock sure grip foam on the actual knee cradle itself. Removable outer knee flap. So again, for those that like to strap it down behind their calf, you can just get rid of this. It just laces out. Single break core, single break outer roll, soft glute, but there is some give back to it and still a stiffer upper thigh rise. So again, for those people looking for a pad that's hopefully going to continue to last, into those later parts of the season, me, especially with that stiffness that this upper thigh rise provides, that should help to give that to you.
Well, and also that's, it may not be made at the factory in Montreal anymore, or this model isn't, but that's the most common sort of prospect. That stiffer thigh rise and from the knee up is pretty much common for a lot of their pros in the 12.2 model.
Correct. Supervised by those, again, like from the actual Lafayette factory themselves, have been over to go and monitor production. So again, that QC control is definitely there. Stock, pro laces.
Like this.
Yes.
Like this model. We were on the ice with Eric Comrie earlier this summer, and he's in this. I like the fact that they've sort of created a fixed length before the bungee kicks in.
Correct. So definitely got that feedback for reverse V8 positions in terms of integrating your boot and your toe down into that post. This is allowing a little bit more of that gap to really get that toe cap behind that post so you can get that boot nice and stuck in front.
Anything else?
You did touch on it. 600 break glove, double T stock. It's going to be coming with either black skate lace for black or white with all the other ones. Game ready palm. Actually great stock off the field closure, to be honest. But a good feeling glove for what it is. So once again, those familiar with that 600 break, again, looking for just an easy transition, something stock off the wall, you can definitely find it here.
And remember, folks, we do a deeper dive on the 12.2 originally when it came in from the Montreal factory. The reality is this may not be made there, but all the sort of specs still apply for their stock.
The things you're going to want. The things you're going to want.
Are all still in here.
Yes.
True, 12.2. More importantly, it's in here, in the store, InGoal Utopia, available for you. If you have any questions about fit, about options, is custom still available? That's a tough one right now. Make sure you ask Cam. Call him. Where can they get a hold of you with those questions?
Call me or the boys. 604.
Or the crew.
589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790.
Been a long week for Cam.
It has been. www.thehockeyshop.com.
There you go. That's your best option. Make sure you check them out online at thehockeyshop.com because all this gear is available online. As Cam said, it's all stock now. You can buy it online. There you go. Done.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Nothing better than hearing you guys hang out over there. And that was really interesting information about the True and the 12.2. but also what wasn't mentioned was just who you bump into at the hockey shop.
Well, how about bumping into RJ Jacobson? A little more than a bump into. It was a little bit planned. From Perth, Australia, a goaltender, and gear is a little bit tougher to come by over there. So RJ, who reached out to us through the podcast, had a trip to Calgary and Vancouver coming, seeing some family. And so actually the original plan was to meet him at the hockey shop. But the Canucks were doing an informal skate. Ian Clark was working with his goalies at Scotia Barn 8 rinks out in Burnaby. And so he sent me a very jet lag note about what time he would be at the hockey shop the next morning. And I said, you know what? I actually got to be somewhere else at a certain hour. Why don't you meet me there? So RJ came out and just basically sat in the freezing cold stands. Like we didn't go all cushy and sit in the lounge area. We sat out on the ice, and it is cold at 8 rinks, and watched Thatcher Demko and Colin Delia and Spencer Martin and Artur Silovs go through drills for an hour. And then he went to the hockey shop with a little in-goal swag to boot. But he went to the hockey shop and Hutch, did I hear right? He spent 6 hours there?
Yeah, sent us a note how happy he was about having to getting to meet you, Woody, and then said he spent 6 full hours at the shop going through all the gear. I think Cam might have been away, but he gave a little shout out to Brendan and Cooper for looking after him so well. As you've said many times on the gear segment, Woody, Cam's a great guy, but he's got a great crew there. So if you need any help at the hockey shop, you can call any of these guys.
Yeah, and Cam was actually out on official business. He was in Montreal getting a look at next year's CCM gear, which we've already seen, and which happened to little parts of it happened to debut on Thatcher Demko at 8 rinks while we were there. The new eFlex 6 is something we're seeing and something Cam was checking out for next year. So Cam wasn't there, but like you said, good crew. And RJ, thanks for reaching out to us, folks. If you're listening and you're going to be in town, feel free to send us a note, and maybe we'll get a chance to, if it works in our schedules. And when you're coming all the way from Australia, we're going to do our damnedest to make sure it works in our schedules. And so it was just really cool to hang out with RJ and watch a little goaltending with him. And he's got a real eye for the position and a huge fan of it. And awesome that he got to go hang out at the hockey shop. And I think just a little more selection than he's used to at the old local store in Perth, Australia, when it comes to goalie gear.
Well, 6 hours anywhere is a long time, but
yes,
I love the fact that he did that, because that I mean, that's right to the core of why we love this game, and be able to hang out and try on gloves and look at masks and pads and everything. Like that is really cool. It goes back to your initial startup in the sport, Hutch.
I mean, it's why we love the game, isn't it, Darren?
Yeah.
So getting that opportunity to do that is gold, and great of Kevin and Cam to be so accommodating. I think they need to put a coffee shop in to the hockey shop.
You're right.
You know, because I've been on a few mountain biking trips to Moab, was one of the most memorable ones. And part of the daily routine is to go into the shop, grab a coffee in the little coffee shop they have in there, and just hang out and go through all the gear. So I think we need to have the espresso machine downstairs in Goalie Utopia.
Well, it won't be downstairs. They're moving soon, so maybe there won't be a downstairs. Goalie Utopia will have its sort of own section in the store, and a massive store it's going to be. I think we will have to put that request in with Cam for a designated coffee supply chain.
Brilliant. I love it. Things just come organically on InGoal Radio, the podcast. Just one note on True. I guess this change that they've done, because it's always been North American based manufactured, they got to get the product out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think, like, it's not certainly hope nobody hears us sharing that information as a criticism. It's just reality. And I think if you're somebody that's had to wait months and months and months, and in some cases months and months more, to get custom made stuff from the Montreal factory, just there's so much demand there. It's such a small factory. We've had the pleasure of getting to be there with Michelle and Patrick Lefebvre in the past, back when they were partners with CCM. And the reality was, with the demand at the pro and college level, there's just not enough production slots left to satisfy retail. And so this was inevitable, I think. And the reality is, all the manufacturing experience that Pat Lefebvre would have had from his days with CCM and overseas, and making sure that things are done right over there, I kind of joked with Cam. We grabbed the glove, and the closure on the Game Ready, to be perfectly honest with you, was a little easier out of the box than some of the stuff that was coming from the Montreal factory. So they've got their, not that the ones from the Montreal factory obviously would have broken in perfectly, but like they've got the process dialed. Like, it says designed by Lefebvre, the same way my very expensive iPhone 12 or 13 or whatever the hell it is comes in a box that says designed in California. Well, it ain't built there. That's just the reality of manufacturing these days. So the fact that we were excited to see all this True gear in the store comes with the reality that for that to be able to happen requires this step. And so it's nothing to shy away from. It's something that other companies have done very well. And I don't think anybody should be shocked that this was coming from True. And you still can get, the slots are very limited, but if you're lucky, you still can get custom built stuff from the factory in Montreal, from the Lefebvres and from True. It's just, again, not everybody is willing to wait that long to get a spot. And when you can walk into the store and have, the same stuff sitting there waiting for you to take home that day, that's how retail works. So not a slag to be sharing this, but just a reality. As we see that inventory, I think it needs to come with the caveat that it wasn't built in Montreal, because there were a lot of people that were excited about True for that reason. And I think it shouldn't be for that reason alone. But if you were, I don't know what world you were living in to think that could be sustained long-term as the only retail option, frankly.
Sometimes you can be put together on different locations, just like our feature interview of the week, brought to you by Sensorina VR. Joel Hofer has had a journey along the way, and this week, Hutch gets a chance to catch up with the netminder of the St. Louis Blues property on his next step as he makes that progression. And it's all thanks to Sensorina VR with our feature interview.
Sure is. Sensorina is bringing goaltending training to people around the world. You don't need a sheet of ice at home. You can put on the virtual reality headset and get some incredible training you can face, whether it's age-appropriate shooters you want to face or all the way up to professionals. You can train at home every day with Sensorina. And now is perhaps the best time in a long time to become a Sensorina member. I say member because you're subscribing to the service. They update it all the time with great new features, and they now have a deal on $289 off a membership. I'm talking from Canada here. Your price may change slightly depending on where you're purchasing it from, but basically it adds up to just about half price for an annual membership now if you use the code IGM50. So encourage everybody to go check out Sensorina. Whether you're a goaltender, a player, or now even a tennis player, Sensorina can help you with your sport. Train like a pro. And most of the pros that we talk to now, guys, have at least had some experience with Sensorina and really recognize what a great product it is.
Yeah, can I just say it's not just pros? It's funny because I know a lot of people hear us raving about this product all the time, and there might be some skepticism out there. I get it. Like, not everybody understands just how realistic virtual reality can be. But we got a note from a parent last week, Andrew Redden, who sent it and gave us permission to share. His son Mark is an 11-year-old AAA goalie, and he basically took the summer off. Wasn't on the ice at all. 8 weeks without any skating, tennis, swimming, other sports. Love to hear that, especially at the age of 11. But the one thing he did during that time off, and they were a family that was a little hesitant to make that plunge, but he used Sensorina regularly, almost daily in the final month leading up to his tryouts. And when he came off the ice after his first practice, the first thing he said to his dad was, "Wow, Sensorina really improved my tracking." And talked about how it was so much easier to make saves with both hands after using Sensorina, pucks going right into the pocket of the glove, kind of matching what we hear right up to the pro level, how beneficial a tool this can be. So I know it's like, listen, now's a great time to get in because of the sale that's on. We realize that there's equipment involved. This is a significant investment. So it's really nice to hear. We're asking a lot of some parents to take this leap of faith with us based on our word. So it's nice to hear that positive feedback. We hear a lot of it the people we do talk to, once they take that plunge, they're kind of like, hey, you guys are right. I wish I'd started this sooner. We've had other parents reach out and say, like, anybody, I think the one note I got that was like, anybody who's not using this is probably falling behind in the summer. So it's nice to hear that Sense Arena is finding ways to help goalies that can't get on the ice. And like you said, Hutch, right up to the pro level, even the goalies that can still find some benefit from it. So proud to have them as a partner. And I think the one thing about us you'll know is if it was fluff or didn't work, not a partnership we'd be interested in, but this is legit. And because of the validation we've received on it, that's why we continue with this partnership quite proudly, I should say.
Validation, that might be the perfect word to sum up Joel Hofer. What an incredible journey that he's been on. And you guys get into it, Hutch, with your conversation about not drafted into the Western Hockey League and makes that progression. Hockey Canada burst onto the scene there and now is knocking on the door of a National Hockey League spot.
Absolutely. It was both a literal and a figurative journey, because we caught up with Joel as he was on his way to training camp, driving from Winnipeg, Manitoba down to St. Louis, about a 13-hour drive all alone. So we had lots of time to catch up. If anybody thinks that the pro lifestyle is glamorous, there's parts of it that most certainly aren't. Although Joel did tell me that in junior hockey, he had to make a much longer drive from Winnipeg down to Portland as well. So what a great young man he is. He's been very generous with his time. Since he was a young goaltender, we've known Joel and been able to catch up with him every year. And so he shared some of that journey. And look, guys, everybody looks around and they see the goalies that make the, I don't even want to say traditional, but the clearest route to the pros, getting drafted into the CHL. And then after that, they're identified by Hockey Canada at a young age and brought into camps. And then maybe it's World Juniors. And everybody thinks that just because we see goaltenders do that, it's the only route to the pros. And Joel has shown that not everybody develops at exactly the same pace, but if you hang in there and you work really hard, you can make strides, and there's a path for you as well. And that might not even be through the CHL, guys. Obviously, the NCAA route for goaltenders is a very valid one as well. It allows guys to develop for a little bit longer before they get their shot at the pros. And there's just many ways to love and enjoy the game. And Joel is absolutely a goaltender that loves and enjoys the game. To see him playing around with the puck on the ice, he's got magic hands. It's incredible to watch. We alluded to some shootout goals that he scored in his gear this summer, and we'd love to share some of that at some point if I can find them. But just his love of the game is very apparent, and he's a student of the game because he'll also challenge his coaches to explain exactly what it is that they want from him and talk about what's important in his game for him. Can't say enough good things about Joel, and really appreciate him taking the time with us. And I think everybody's going to enjoy this chat while listening for that little in-goal shout out.
A multifaceted conversation from stopping the puck to shooting the puck. It's Joel Hofer at InGoal Radio, the podcast.
Our guest today is Joel Hofer, who you may recall from previous podcasts. Spoke to us after his win as World Junior Champion a few years ago. Joel, welcome to the InGoal Radio Podcast.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
You know, as I said, people already somewhat familiar with you through our show, but let's just sort of have a quick recap of where you came from and how you got started as a goaltender.
Yeah, so I started playing goaltender when I was 10 years old. So I guess now in this day and age, it's kind of a late bloomer. But I started when I was 10. I started playing in Manitoba for the first, at least, I want to say 4 or 5 years. And then when I was 15, I went to POE in Kelowna, and I was there for 2 years. And then after that, I played in the Western League played there for my rookie year. And then during my second year, I got traded to Portland, where I spent another year and a half. So, yeah, when I was there, I got drafted to St. Louis and had my first pro season in Utica, which was, I guess, the shortened COVID year. And then I guess this past year was my first kind of full pro year with Springfield in the American League. So yeah, it's been definitely a fun start to a career, and hopefully it just keeps going, getting better.
It's a whole career in a nutshell there. Just as we go back, Joel, we've held you up as a great example to our listeners a number of times. And one of those reasons, of course, is that you came the sort of traditional Western Hockey League route, but you were not drafted into the Western Hockey League as a bantam goaltender, were you?
No, I was not. My draft year, I was still in Manitoba, and I actually didn't make the AAA team there. So I was playing AA and, hometown and stuff. And the rink was 10 minutes from my house. So, you obviously don't play many games in a year, but so I didn't really, I guess you could say I didn't really expect to get drafted, but the year prior, I obviously, I went to POE, like I said, and got some interest in some teams, and thankfully I got listed by Swift Current and got to go to their camp and ended up signing there. So definitely a crazy process.
Do you have any advice for any young kids who sort of experienced the same thing, maybe had their hopes up for the draft, or maybe like you didn't really expect it, but now are hoping for a career in hockey? How do you talk to a young sort of 14-year-old goaltender who's hoping for maybe more than they're, experiencing right now?
Yeah, the dream's not over, obviously. I mean, there's countless stories of, goalies or even players that, haven't been drafted to the Western League or even the NHL that, make it and go on to have long and, great careers. So I would definitely say just, focus on the things you can control and, have fun while doing it. So, I obviously you're going to be, upset and you want to do good and all that. But, me personally, when that happened, I just used that as, motivation and, firing me to, do better and, work even harder than I was. So.
And not a dissimilar story for you a few years later when you didn't get a whole lot of attention from Hockey Canada, but then suddenly a couple years later, you end up the starter at the World Junior Championships.
Yeah, it was that the way it works out is, super crazy. I mean, the summer of the World Juniors, I didn't even get invited to the summer camp or whatever, but it's obviously I don't make the decisions on, who gets picked there. So I tried to just, focus on myself and, do the things I can control. And, I was obviously on a really good Portland team that year. And, we all went off to a hot start. So I got invited to the Canada-Russia series. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. So it's definitely a, really cool story looking back at it.
And what an experience it was for you. And that gold medal, strongly suggest people look back to the previous podcast, and we'll share a link to that so people can hear all about it, because it was fantastic, Joel, of you to chat with us shortly after. And I still remember you giving us a sort of a tour of the mask and the medal and the whole experience. So that was a great one. I hope people look back on. But now you're a professional goaltender. So what can you tell us about that transition from junior to pro?
Yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, you're living the dream, right? You're playing hockey for a living, and I've met a lot of great friends and people along the way. But yeah, junior is definitely different than the professional level. I mean, you're on your own, you're paying your own bills, you're cooking for yourself. So it's definitely there's definitely an adjustment period there to be made. But I mean, that's why we grew up wanting. We obviously want to play hockey for a living and do it for a long time. So. There's always going to be sacrifices. Obviously moving away from home is a big sacrifice, and not seeing your friends and family as much. But it's obviously what you want. But like I said, there's definitely an adjustment period there for sure. But I'd say I'm used to it by now.
It is. It's a bigger step than I think people realize after you've been looked after so well by billet families through junior hockey, and obviously your parents at home. Does the team give you any sort of support in learning how to do all that? I mean, you've probably never had to rent an apartment before. You might not have even been grocery shopping before, except for with mom and dad. So what kind of supports are there for you?
Yeah, there's definitely, the team does a really good job at supporting you. They give you a list of, the apartments available and, what numbers to call and whatnot. But, I think a big part of it too is just the guys on your team. Like they'll help you a lot. The older guys, the veterans, they definitely reach out and they kind of guide you and what to do. And obviously the athletic department and with the trainers and stuff, they really help me with the food side of it and kind of what to buy and grocery shopping and whatnot. So everybody definitely made the transition a lot easier.
How about the hockey side of things? How have you noticed things change for you? Because you were obviously a very serious junior hockey player and you already had aspirations. So I like to think you were probably pretty professional in your approach to the game. But now that you're actually a pro, how has that changed for you as a hockey player?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, you look at things differently. I mean, it's definitely, it's your job to perform and do well, but I also think that's, a blessing. Like, I think it makes you, come to the rink, want it even more. And that, if you're not sharp on a daily night, that you're going to get exposed. And that was definitely a learning part for me. Like, I think in pro, there's no, like, everybody's a good player. Like I said, you're going to get exposed if you're not ready. You're performing at a high levels. But yeah, I think that makes it all the much better. There's going to be more intense hockey games. Playoffs are all that more intense. So yeah, it's definitely all you would expect.
How has your game evolved now that you're a professional goaltender? How'd that first year and a half gone working with Dan Stewart, David Alexander in the St. Louis system? How have you changed as a goaltender?
Yeah, I would say that for me, it was definitely my footwork. In junior, there's obviously not as high skilled as players as there would be in pro, so you almost get away with some things here and there. But when you're in pro, you're more exposed, and if you were to make a mistake or whatever, you're definitely gonna get it's gonna show, and you're gonna let up goals or whatever. But the footwork was definitely the biggest thing that I focused on getting to pro, and just always be square to the shooter and the push and pull with your feet and all that too. But the other thing was for sure the puck handling. I think that was the thing for me that I really wanted to get better at it. And I think that if there's two goalies that are neck and neck, that I think that could be potentially something that could separate you from the other guy, and as well as helping your D-man out. I think getting out of the zone quicker, even if they have to go back every time and you're not handling the puck, that they could, get hit more often. So anything to try to help the D-man, I'm all for it.
I want to go back to the footwork at some point, but you opened up the puck handling thread and definitely wanted to talk about that, Joel, because I'm amazed for you to say that that's something that you think has come on as a pro, because watching you play around with the puck on the ice this summer, it looks like you must have been doing that since you started as a goaltender as a 10-year-old. So what has happened in the last year that you think that's where it's all come from?
I would say just like you were saying, just practicing it. I mean, that's where you're gonna, get all your reps. And, for me, I just love handling the puck. Like, I just think sometimes I wish I was a player. So I guess that could be a thing into it. But, I mean, I feel like I would just rather stick out and, sit around watching or doing whatever. So yeah, it's definitely, you obviously watch a lot of hockey too, and you see, you see guys doing crazy plays, and you obviously, you think you can do it, but then you try it in a game, and it may not work out. So that gives you all the more motivation to keep practicing it. But I really enjoy doing it. So.
Well, I know you would like to be a player, because there might be some video that I've got here of you scoring a nice little Forsberg on a poor young goaltender who won't be named right now.
Yeah, that's probably for the best that we don't show that clip. But no, I'm kidding.
I think I will be showing it. I think I will be showing it.
No, yeah, it's all good fun and games. Yeah, it's a lot of it for me, having fun and enjoying my time on the ice. So,
is there something specific that Dan or David has done with you now as a pro to help you improve that game, other than just your own desire to play with the puck a bit more?
Yeah, we me and Charlie worked a lot on it this year, the puck handling aspect, and really focusing on hammering down those 10-foot plays. And obviously not really much those stretch passes, but like when you're puck handling, basically the longest pass you're gonna make is 10 foot. So those were definitely the biggest areas we worked on. We had a good drill. Just the coach would be like kind of on the hash marks, and he would dump it down, and we'd switch sides, passing our forehand, backhand, and then we had a bucket, and we'd toss over the bucket. So we would do that almost every day before practice. So I think just the reps, over and over, definitely helped us throughout the year.
Okay, I think I need to bug Dan for some video of this so that we can actually show it off to people. But can you just give me a little bit more detail on that? Because I love when people get in detail here, because you're talking to goaltenders only and goalie parents.
Yeah.
So he's dumping from the hash. You're behind the net, and where's this bucket that you're putting it over?
So the first progression of the drill, there's no bucket. So
okay,
I guess like your goalie partner will be just like on your forehand side. So he's just dumping a pass, and you're just doing five passes to the forehand, and then the goalie partner can switch up. Sometimes what we would do is we show forehand, and then other times show backhand. That way you're not just blindly throwing it. Like it forces you to look at the passer and make a strong pass. But we do that, and then we'd also mix in somewhere you're opening up and then feeding it with your backhand, and then the goalie would go to the other side, so he'd catch it, go to the backhand side now, and then vice versa. And then we do one where it's a continuous, so that the goalie coach would dump it in slower, and then so it's like a play where you wouldn't really have time to handle it and move it, where you kind of just have to move it on your own or sweep it over, I guess, in a sense.
Just sort of a one-timer?
Yeah, pretty much. And then the last progression, we'd have the bucket almost on like the trapezoid, on the line of the trapezoid. So it'd force you to sauce it over, like it kind of mimics like a four-checker stick or whatever. So you kind of have to make a strong play with it.
Love it. Okay, pro drill's coming up one of these days.
Yeah.
For all our readers. That's fantastic. What do you do to try and create a little bit of pressure there to make it tougher for you to have to make those decisions a bit quicker?
Yeah, we would also we would do a drill with the D-men to where they would come back like they would in a game, and then we would do a breakout, and then the D-men would also be calling, and then we would get the coach to go on either side of them, so they would have to kind of make the call on the go. So that'd kind of be our pressure kind of practice.
Love it. So fair to say that you can't become the puck handler that you are today without a supportive coaching staff that's going to let you work within a system like that, and I would assume also let you make a few mistakes. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the practice doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, we worked on it, every day, even if the night before we had a great session where we made a lot of breakout passes to our D-men, we'd still do it the day after. So I think that definitely helped me and Charlie's game, and it made both of us better.
Okay, and again, we're just going to continue down the puck handling thread here, since you did had a pretty special night in the playoffs this year, didn't you?
Yeah, it was definitely one to remember, for sure.
Can you share the scenario with everybody?
Yeah, so it was actually my first ever AHL playoff game. We were playing Wilkes-Barre. We got a good lead going into the third. I can't remember the exact score, but there's probably like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. We had a 2-goal lead, and they obviously dumped it in. But like when they were coming up the ice, I kept telling myself, like, don't go for it, like, smart, kind of just in case, like, if something were to mess up, that would make it a 1-goal game, and you never really know in playoffs. But yeah, they dumped it in, and I handled it great, which was like the biggest thing. I know, like earlier in the season, I would get a rim or whatever, but I wouldn't handle it well, where it would bounce on my stick, so I didn't really have time with the four checkers or everything. But it was a really hard rim by the player, and I caught it clean, and I don't know, I got through it and I went for it, and it worked out well.
Sure did work out well. Did you have the celly pre-planned? Like, were you ready for this moment, or was it spontaneous?
Yeah, so like it's pretty crazy. Earlier in the year, or earlier in the month, I think I was actually listening to like your guys' podcast, and I think Woody mentioned something on how how there was like some beer leaguer scored a empty net goal, and you're talking about empty net goals, and you guys talking about your cellies or whatever. And I was legit thinking of like my celly, like what would I do? And I got a chance actually like later that week, but I missed it. The guy blocked it at like center or whatever. But that like because of that, I thought of the cellies. I had that planned and ready to go if it were to happen. Pretty crazy.
That's pretty special. Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. This summer at camp, Eli Wilson's camp, I remember one of the young goalies said to you, how do you feel now that you've scored a goal in the playoffs? How did it feel? Do you remember what you said to him?
I want to say like it's not much has changed. I feel the same. It's definitely it's a nice thing to have. It's almost like a hole in one golf, but yeah, it's not. I thought it would be like a bigger thing, but like after the day or two, it was kind of just like whatever, back to work kind of thing. But it was definitely a bucket list moment. So it was definitely super cool.
No, I love that approach though, because it really showed the young guy asking you that question what you're all about and how calm a goaltender you are, and like you said, back to work. So that's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of bucket lists and hole-in-ones, have you got one of those? Because I know you're a pretty avid golfer.
Yeah, I have not got one. Unfortunately, I was on the lip, where I lipped out last year, and I'm pretty convinced I'm not getting one now, because that was my chance if I had one. But I've been able to get out on the course lots this year, so definitely another nice way to get active and spend some time with buddies.
You may have heard this one on the podcast too, because we've talked about it. But what do you think the similarities are between being a golfer and being a goaltender?
I would say the pressure for sure, because like if you're playing golf, there's no one really to it's really just you and yourself, right? In a way that's kind of what you are in goaltending. Like there's nowhere you can hide. It's if you make a mistake, it's really evident. So kind of the same in golf, to where if you make a mistake, you're definitely getting tripped by your buddies. But I just love that aspect of it. And the other aspect in golf too is that you can never be perfect, and you're always going to leave shots out there on the course, and that's kind of what I strive for in hockey. But it's also a good game to obviously try to be as best as you can.
Love that one. I hadn't thought of the piece of not being able to be perfect and that connection. So that's a good one to add. And I always add as well, Joel, the idea that I think goaltending and golf are two of the few things in sports where you can't do better by trying harder. Yeah, that's very true. I haven't heard of that one, but that's very true now that you bring it up. Yeah. Now, speaking of the footwork in pros, let's just go back there a little bit, because you were a pretty good skater in junior. What is it you're trying to accomplish? What have you added to your game from a footwork perspective this year? The biggest thing I would say is the push pull. So in junior, I would definitely I'd drag my leg behind, so I'd always be I guess flat in a sense. Mm-hmm. So I've always worked on that, and been cognizant of pushing and pulling, and trying to bring my feet in as quickly as possible. That way I can move either way. If the shooter were to go there. Another thing would be obviously to hold my feet as long as I can. I think being a big guy, I think it's definitely an advantage to me, and the longer I can hold my feet, I think the better. So it's definitely still a work in progress. There's still a lot of work to be done, and just trying to get better each and every day. The push-pull we're going to have to illustrate for people at some point, because I think it's something that's really important for young goaltenders to start learning now. How about the patience on the feet? What can you do to practice that?
I would say the biggest thing for me would just be work on it in practice. Obviously, just be as quick as you can, and obviously snap the knees. If they were to shoot. But I think sometimes I have a tendency to overread the shooter and move before they shoot the puck. So that was definitely something that I was definitely focusing on in practices during the year, and being patient and waiting till they make their release to make the save. So
as a pro, you've reached that point where I think you understand your game really well, I'm sure. What's that relationship like with your goaltending coach as a professional now? Do you want a lot of feedback? Do you just want the odd reminder? How do you work that out day to day?
Yeah, I think me and Dan, we had a great season together, and I think he's really learned on how I'm a really competitive guy, and obviously I want to be the best out there on the ice each and every day, and I'm someone who I definitely I'm a visual learner, so we go over a lot of video and such like that. I watch a lot of hockey too, so anything I can do to get a step on my competition is something I value, and so yeah, I think anytime that Dan will see something, he'll obviously correct it, but for the most part, I think he knows that I know where my mistake is coming from, but maybe if he sees it two or three times, I think he knows to come with me with that.
Now that you've learned so much at this point in your career, what would you say to 14-year-old Joel if you could give him a little bit of advice to help him along the way?
I would say enjoy it, honestly. It's gone super quick, and you can obviously think back to when you're 14, 15. It doesn't seem too long ago, but it definitely catches up to you quick. But besides that, obviously work hard and enjoy it. Like I said, it goes fast, and you're gonna get relationships that are gonna last a lifetime. And I'm definitely grateful for those moments.
Fantastic. Now, speaking of relationships, you had I don't want to say a unique one with your partner this year, Charlie Lindgren, who's now moved on to Washington. But it was a little bit unusual in that you shared the net quite equally this year and right through the playoffs. How did that work for the two of you?
Yeah, I thought it was great for us. I think it really kept things competitive even in practice. We both we didn't really know who was starting or whatnot, so we always wanted to start. Both of us wanted to play games, so I think that was really good for us in terms of pushing each other well, and I think it complemented both of us in terms of when we would get that chance to play, that we knew that we had to make the most of it, or else we knew that one of us wasn't going to get the start. But I think we pretty much went back and forth every start, or maybe like two or something. We didn't do that, but other than that, like, he was an unbelievable partner, and an unbelievable person too. I can't say enough good things about him, and we had a really good relationship, and I hope to stay in touch with him this year, and he's earned everything he's gotten so far, and I'm really looking forward to watching him this year, and I know he'll do great things.
Yeah, and I'm sure he will. Long-time good friend of the show, and very thankful everything he's been able to share with us as well, and wish him luck. We've often talked on the show about whether you might see a rotation like that in the playoffs and the advantages for a team, because it's very difficult to make it through a deep playoff run with only one goaltender. Things just happen. Could you imagine something like that happening again? And could you maybe even imagine it happening at the NHL level?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can see in the Calder Cup finals, both of our team, Springfield and Chicago, they split for most of the time, and I know more teams in the NHL are going back and forth, but I think the biggest thing with the American League is how we had back-to-back. So that was definitely
right.
That was definitely bigger, but in the NHL, they obviously don't have back-to-back, so it might be harder for them to implement it. But I mean, if the goalie's hot and he had a great game, I don't know. I feel like it'd be pretty hard to go back and forth. I feel like you almost got to just ride the hot hand. But obviously each and every coach is going to be different in the way that they look at it. And but yeah, for us it wasn't it wasn't nothing new to us. We split pretty much all year, so it was good though.
Yeah, and a great way for a young goaltender, I think, to come into the league and to learn your craft with somebody who's got more experience. What are you thinking? What are you hearing this year will be like for you now that Charlie's moved on?
Yeah, obviously, I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I think, obviously, I wanna go into camp this year. Obviously, pushing for a spot. I'm obviously going there to try to make the team and give myself, the best chance to, stay there for opening night. So, just like anybody is, I mean, everybody's gonna go there trying to push for spots, and it's obviously the National Hockey League, so it's obviously, the best of the best. So, I'm definitely, gonna have to be ready to go there. But that being said, I'm super excited, and so even if I do go to the AHL, I'm in a great spot, and just being super thankful no matter where I am, and even if I play no matter how many games at either level, I'm super grateful. So.
Well, you got that first experience in the National Hockey League last year with your first couple of games. Was it everything you imagined?
Yeah, it was amazing. It all happened, pretty quickly for me. You obviously aren't sure if you're going to get a start or not. When I was called up, but I was lucky enough to get the call, and it was definitely a dream come true, and it was amazing and something I'll never forget for sure.
How much warning did you have that you'd be starting?
I didn't have that much, actually. I remember the night before I had somewhat of a hunch, just because it was a back-to-back, but I wasn't completely sure. So I almost want to say that was almost better for me, just because I wasn't thinking about it too much. But either way, it was still it was super nerve-wracking, but I ended up getting the win, which is the most important, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So it was definitely great, and hopefully we can have more to come.
Did you have any family in the building for either game?
No, my parents couldn't make it down. They were definitely tuning in to watch, and I'm sure they were pretty happy.
Can you think back to your first Western Hockey League game and compare the nerves or the experience in any way to your first NHL game? Yeah,
it was. I honestly want to say it was pretty similar. I mean, I remember my first dub game. They had we were on the road in Saskatoon, and they had this huge ceremony or whatever. I don't know whether it was a banner night or whatever, but there was a huge delay. It was 40 minutes or something. So that made it all the worse. I was kind of just sitting there, super nervous, but I ended up, we ended up winning that game. So it all ended up working out great. Another game I'll never forget, for sure.
Very, very special. Did you notice anything different when you got back to the American League after that experience?
Obviously the pace. I think that's pretty much what everybody would say. The pace was definitely, compared to the NHL, it was a little slower, but I would say the offensive and the offensive chances were definitely more. I would say in the defense, obviously everybody's really super good at defending and such, but the biggest thing for me actually was the screens. I found that in the National League they were just super good at just taking your eyes away, and they would check their shoulders, and they'd see where you're looking, and then they would wait until they're about to shoot, and then they'd move into that lane. So that was definitely something I took away going back to the American League was I gotta prioritize getting better sight lines and handling traffic better, and I thought that throughout the year in Springfield I thought I handled it better, and I actually incorporated seeing low more often. Before I would just automatically be looking high every time, just because I thought that with my size I could just see over everybody. But I found that when I was in a lower stance, I was just in a better spot to be more reactionary and I found it really helped me. So.
Can you give us any more detail on that? Like, how low are we talking, and how do you avoid then getting caught? Because I know a lot of people feel that they're safer in that high stance if they can use it.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me was when I was in the high stance, that when I would like shift into the low stance, my eye level would change. So it was harder for me to pick up pucks.
Okay.
I just found that when I was in the lower stance, I would only really go in the low stance if I was forced to. So if there was if I couldn't see it, or maybe I had to look around someone, or even under someone. But I just found that I could feel the ice better if someone did shoot it quick, or if I had to pick up something late, my eyes were just in a better spot to where I could track and catch pucks better.
Do you think those things translate when you go back? I mean, if you went back to the American League, if you go even further back to the Western Hockey League, where things are just a little bit more chaotic, a little bit less predictable, can you play that National Hockey League way there still? Or is it just a different game?
I'm not sure. I think it's a different game, because in the Western League, obviously the guys aren't as big, and they're still kids, so they're not really I would say they're not really sure exactly on how to screen properly or whatnot. Same with the goalies there. Everybody's still young, and you're obviously not fully developed. So for me, obviously I was one of the taller guys in the league, so I was definitely I was getting away with a lot more than I think I would at the pro level.
What's do you have a plan for this year in terms of your personal development?
I would say just keep focusing on what I've been focusing on. I think the footwork's obviously a big thing for me. I know that being a big guy, it can only be beneficial for me to be able to move well in the net, and if I can take up space, it's all the much better for me. But for me, I want to be more consistent in the net. Last year I was at times I was definitely a little streaky, but I think this year I'm definitely going to focus on being consistent, because I feel like the best goalies in the league, I think the ones that separate them are the ones that are consistent night in and night out. I want to be someone where what you're getting out of me on each and every night, and but yeah, I'm just super excited to get this year going, and we should have a pretty good team. So yeah, it should be pretty good and exciting.
What can you do, whether it's just on your own or working with your goalie coaches, to develop that consistency?
I would say the practice habits are definitely a big thing for me. Just focusing on working hard each and every practice, and having a practice plan each and every practice on whether you're going to focus on vision, or maybe you're going to focus on your hands, or even puck handling, or just little things each and every day, and not just going to practice blind and just kind of going through the motions. Another thing for me is obviously off ice stuff, whether it's sleeping, or getting a good night's rest, or eating habits. I know those things can definitely creep on you, and if you have good habits, it can only do good things for you.
Have those off ice routines changed in the last couple of years? I mean, I guess it must be so much harder when you're playing in the Western League and on a bus all over Western Canada. But
yeah,
in terms of those ways of looking after yourself, what's changed?
Yeah, obviously in the Western League, you're super fortunate to have a bill making you a nice food each and every night. So it's just taking responsibility in yourself, and obviously you have to prepare for each and every day, whether that's what meals you're having, or what are you having for breakfast, or whatnot, or even getting a good night's sleep. So I know that some nights last year I wouldn't get a good night's sleep, and then the next practice I wouldn't have a good practice. So it definitely correlates to on the ice. So definitely taking a good step forward, and being hard on myself, that stuff.
So we have a new nutrition column over at InGoal, and it's penned by Jamie Phillips, who played in Winnipeg for a while.
Yep.
We're talking about your life changing here and having to look after yourself. So what's Joel's go-to meal at night? What's your specialty?
Yeah, me and my roommate would make chicken, rice, and then veggies. So it would keep it very simple, but we'd throw some spices or whatever on the chicken. chicken and rice. So definitely made it simple and pretty quick to eat. But yeah, that was pretty much our go-to. If we were feeling frisky, or if we had a good hockey game on, we'd make a steak or two. So that would kind of be our treat for the night. But we kept it pretty simple for the most part.
So you told me you improved your golf game just by watching YouTube. Is that what you're doing for cooking now too? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, definitely in the early going. Definitely watching a lot of YouTube and how to do a lot of stuff. So I can't thank YouTube enough.
All right, Joel. Well, listen, I'll let you go and wish you a very safe drive on your way down to camp, and wish you all the best at camp. I know it's going to be a great season for you, and we're going to be watching and enjoying every minute along with you.
Yeah, thank you, Hutch. I appreciate it.
He's not just a professional goaltender. He's a listener. He's a reader of InGoal. That's wild. And I love it. And thanks for that, Joel Hofer and David Hutchison. Interesting conversation, buddy.
Yeah, it was great fun. And now that we're through the interview, we can say to everybody, why don't you give us a little shout out on social or send us an email and let us know what would your celly be if you scored a goal in your league. It was so cool to hear Joel tell us that he had thought about that because of our discussion of what our celly would be. And we knew it was just a matter of time before he'd get that goal. I still remember the World Junior Final when he took a shot at the empty net. And we stood up and screamed when this happened because we just figured it was coming. I'm sure it's not his last goal as a professional goaltender. Great young man, and really great that he's able to share so many things with us in such great detail. That's something I just really appreciated about Joel. He's such a well-thought young man, and look forward to more contributions in the future as he continues his journey in the NHL.
Love that he walked us, kind of remind me of Scott Wedgwood a little bit, like that he walked us right through that drill on the puck handling. That's the kind of stuff we love. Like, just don't tell me you're working on puck handling. Tell me how. And Joel did that, did a great job of that. And 100%. Shout out to Dan Stewart, the goalie coach down there with St. Louis's farm team. He mentioned Charlie Lindgren. Like, all we heard from both these guys is a lot of praise for both David Alexander at the level, the NHL level with the Blues, but also Dan Stewart in his first year as the goalie coach down there with their farm team. Or I guess second year. The first year was kind of lockout or pandemic year, but just doing a great job with those guys. And not surprising. Lesson there for all you minor hockey league goalie or coaches, not goalie coaches. They're always complaining that you want a goalie that can handle the puck. It doesn't happen without practice time and support for it. It just doesn't magically appear out of nowhere. You got to invest the time to encourage them to get out there, encourage them to make mistakes. Well, not encourage them to make mistakes, but make sure that you encourage them to get back out there and to let them make the mistakes. So Joel Hofers of the world don't happen by accident. Goals like that don't happen by accident. Coaches and a supporting coaching staff are a big part of it.
Hey, and don't forget the point that he made when talking about that drill, Woody. As much as we're celebrating the goal because it's so much fun, the work they put in was on the 10-foot passes, crisp and clean for the passes that are going to make a difference for their breakout.
And arguably more pressure on that than there is on lobbing a puck down the ice, right? Like, you got to be clean on those handoffs.
Absolutely, because that's where, if the mistakes happen, they end up in the back of the net. It takes a pretty catastrophic mistake when you're shooting at the empty net to have a puck go in, and you're probably doing it like Joel did with a 2-goal lead. So you're really just having a little safe fun. But having that crisp plan in your own zone, that ability to make those short, crisp passes can make all the difference for your team. But as you said, Darren, not without some risk.
Awesome stuff. And it's great to hear about the celebrations. Woody, can you remind us what your plan is if you ever do score?
I think in that conversation I shared that my celebration would be just if I got it past the blue line, like I'm ready to ride the stick like Tiger Williams as soon as I get it past the blue line. I don't think scoring is not in my skill set. It's not my reality. Getting the puck past center, I might ride the stick like Tiger Williams for sure.
Woody had the great visit with RJ, and Hutch, it's a bit of an InGoal tour right now. You also got to spend some time with one of our listeners.
Oh yeah, I love it every time somebody, when we're out at a rink or wherever, just mentions that they listen to the podcast, they read InGoal, and I was at the Vancouver Giants training camp and bumped into Paul McGowan, who is a goalie parent, not of a Vancouver Giant, of a young goaltender in the Delta area, and just dropped by to see training camp and to let his son see what some high-level hockey looks like. And he mentioned that he listens to the podcast and is an InGoal member. And just want to, for me, this one was really exciting, everybody, because Paul is a goalie parent. He was not a goalie himself. His son is young. He's not playing junior hockey yet. He's quite a long way from there at his age. And yet he finds InGoal to be an absolutely indispensable resource. He said it to me. He said, I can't believe every goalie parent doesn't already have a membership. He said at $50 Canadian, it's just an unbelievable value. And then started to talk to me about all the different things that he's read and learned at InGoal. And just really appreciated the time to swap some goalie stories with a fellow goalie parent, and appreciated him taking the time to say hi. So Paul, thanks very much. And anybody else out there, become an InGoal member. It'll help your son or daughter become a better goaltender, and say hi when you see us around the rink.
But you skipped the best part of that story, Hutch.
Did I?
He recognized you because he heard your voice.
That's so strange.
Were you doing the radio voice? Do you talk like that?
That's what I do when I see people in the rink. If I see important junior hockey officials or scouts, I just walk up and say, hello, my name's David Hutchison. And that's why he recognized. No, of course not. I was just having conversation with, I can't even remember who it was because I have so many great conversations in rinks. They're the best place to hang out, but obviously just talking goaltending. So you probably just heard me saying something stupid and knew it must be me.
I'm thinking of a decaf coffee. Would you like one? Oh, are you David Hutchison from InGoal?
Decaf. I'd be taking the incredible dark hot chocolate at the Giants practice rink. Best hot chocolate on the planet.
Wow. Woody,
Lens Coffee. New shout out.
I have yet to visit, not a hot chocolate guy, but on Hutch's recommendation, I will definitely have to get out there and give it a try.
Awesome. I'll look forward to that. And send your suggestions in for the InGoal Bible, the glossary, and as well what your celebration would be if you ever scored, just like Joel Hofer. Thanks to Kevin Woodley, David Hutchison, as well as Cam and Joel, and you for listening to InGoal Radio, the podcast.